howdy, everyone. Welcome to Tilson Live. It is Tuesday. We are live. We all work for Tilson Homes. We have a very special show for you guys today. I'm Eric Alleridge, Senior Vice President of Business Development, part of the fourth generation of the Tilson family. And I'm joined by my favorite host. There's someone else on here too. We'll introduce him later. But Dawn Dancer, VP of Marketing Customer Experience, is here. Everybody welcome Dawn. Say howdy.
Hey, everybody.
How are you, Dawn?
I'm doing well.
Should we just carry on an awkward conversation with this third wheel that's to the date right now and just
Just pretend he's not here?
All right. So before we introduce him, we do want to do our obligatory. Everyone, jump into the chat. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us where you're building. Tell us what part of the process that you're in. We love hearing about that. We love hearing which home you're building, where you are building it, what part of the process you're in. If you're just now thinking about it, this show's about that as well. If you have come to get information about building a custom home on your land in a rural area, specifically Texas, you have stumbled upon the right show. And so we're so glad that you're here. We want to hear all that. But I have to introduce a very special guest joining us for at least the third time.
Yes.
I don't think we count anymore after that. It's just now you're just
one of us.
I'm routine. That's right. We have Justin Ordeneaux, our Senior Vice President of Construction for the entire state of Texas for Tilson Homes. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you, Eric.
And how are you, sir? Happy New Year. Merry belated Christmas.
New Year.
Yeah.
Ready to start this year off strong?
We are starting off strong. And first of all, thank you very much. I know you are super, super busy fella, particularly right now. And the fact that you carved out time for our friends here on Facebook and YouTube, we are grateful for that. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
So we have folks jumping in. We're all live on YouTube, live on Facebook. We'll be answering all your questions today about specifically the construction. Now, if you got questions about other stuff, we can answer those too. You got questions about design, financing, high level pricing things, we can help you with those. But we really want to talk about today, since we have Justin as a captive audience, as a gracious co-host here today to walk us through the construction, not just the process itself. We've got plenty of content about that, although we'll talk about it. We're going to talk about how some things are a little out of order right now. Justin can shed light on that, why that is. But also anything you want to talk about as far as supply chain happenings going on, trade bases, demand that he's seeing out there in the field, what he's seeing from a time frame standpoint in construction. He has a magical crystal ball. He can tell you the future. It's amazing. He played a little trick on us earlier, so we can talk about all that. But anyway, so Dawn, do anyone joining us yet, or there's just the three of us talking? What's going on?
We do. We have, we've got Deirdre coming in from Abu Dhabi, building in Conroe, Texas.
Conroe's just west of Abu Dhabi. It's just west.
Just a little bit. And then we have Cedric scoping out land in Dallas County.
Very cool.
We've got Michelle, who's currently in Bernie, waiting to build in Bandera. We've got somebody from YouTube, Divers Paradise, building in Coryell County, waiting for community roads and power.
Oh, all right. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we got Shannon and Daniel building the Hidalgo in Wood County, had their dig test done 12/28, waiting for the final foundation review and pricing.
Very cool. Awesome. All right. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
We've got Neil watching from New Orleans. We'll be building in Hood County.
Welcome back, Neil. Glad you're here, man.
We got Shannon, who's building in a very busy area, Burnett County.
Justin's
lots of activity. Yeah. We got Connie coming in from Washington State, building in LaRue, Texas. She's been to the Katy Design Center, and Saturday she's flying in and taking the family to Waxahachie. I can't decide on a house. Think she likes the Angelina. Angelina's a very popular choice, but the
Waxahachie location is worth the trip. You'll be glad you did that.
And that team will help you decide exactly which house is perfect for you.
They will. And there's a little fireplace in there that we have another vice president, Nick Yates. He really likes it when you play with the colors on the fireplace.
Yes, make it purple. That's his favorite.
Is, pink or purple. Makes him super happy.
I did not set that up, Nick. I did not set that up.
Nick doesn't watch these. Don't worry.
Nick doesn't watch these. See, we're just going to keep saying that until Nick comes on, and then we'll stop telling people that.
Then we'll quit tormenting him with his fireplace.
I've got another.
I'm just kidding. I'm not going to stop tormenting him with his fireplace.
I think everybody knows that by now. Building a San Jacinto D in Milam County. Foundation forms almost finished. Very exciting times.
Nice.
We've got Jessie. It is raining in Hutto, so I was making her sleepy, but now since we're on, she's wide awake. All right.
So
Thanks for tuning
stand by. We'll start talking in a minute. Jesse, put you smooth out.
We've got Carol from Charlotte, Texas. Just heard from lender that they have pre-approval. Awesome.
All right.
That's
Congratulations,
great.
Carol. That's awesome.
Let's see. Cedric is asking our first questions. Ballpark range on including a garage option.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Cedric. There is a broad range. It really depends on which plan that you're thinking about building. But I know you were talking about the greater Dallas County area, so I'll just pull up one that's pretty popular, maybe our Angelina. And what's your, it's going to vary a lot based on the plan, but I'd figure somewhere around the mid $50,000 range, somewhere between 50 and 60,000 will get you. And that's if the plan doesn't already include it. If you're looking online at pricing, you see one like the Breckenridge or the Fredericksburg or a bunch of other ones that already have them on the base plan, it's already included in that price that we're showing you. If you see a home that doesn't have a garage, again, ours is right now about probably 40-60, would you say, Justin? About 40% of our customers don't do garages and about 60% do. A lot of our customers have like metal buildings or shops, or they have a detached garage, something like that. So they don't necessarily need or want a garage attached to the home. That's why we kind of offer those designs that way. So great question. Thanks for asking, Cedric.
All right, awesome. We got Shaloma watching from Cypress, Texas, planning to build a Republic Grand Ranch. She loves our live shows. Well, thank you for joining us.
Awesome, yeah.
We love doing them. And we've got Linda building a driftwood in Fredericksburg, waiting for foundation to start. Awesome. Beautiful place.
Welcome, Northlands.
We got Tracy, who has her foundation pour tomorrow morning in Henley. Awesome. That's exciting.
Nice.
We've got Dean Bush building in Texas Grand Ranch.
Wonderful spot.
And Connie says she's for sure going to mess with the fireplace. So thank you, Connie.
Excellent.
We've got Kim hoping to build in Marble Falls, Burnett County, own land, and are currently looking at the model homes.
Well, Kim, if you own land, there's no hoping to it. You're going to make this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got Julie. Good afternoon. In the bid process for our way out of level land, the foundation plan is in. First bids were $20,000, but we're getting local bids for better pricing. She hopes building a Whitney and Bowie,
Texas. All right. Well, hang in there with us, Julie. We will get the best contractor on the case for sure.
Absolutely. And then we've got Cleve with a question. Is it cheaper to build up, or at this point, is it the same to extend to the first floor?
Justin, what do you think, just thinking out loud from a pure framing perspective?
It can be land dependent, but I would think generally going vertical would be the less expensive way to grab that extra footage. Historically, it's just cheaper because you don't have the concrete, the cable. I mean, you're supporting all of that, but it's able to maintain on that slab. So I would believe that going vertical would be the right answer.
Yeah, and Cleveland, again, like Justin said, it's going to depend case by case. You'll see a lot of cases, though, where like if you're looking at a bonus room option, the bonus room is going to be less theoretically per square foot than, like, say, the main living area of the home. And the reason, to Justin's point, is because the roof's already there in a lot of the cases. You change the plate heights up, the foundation's already there. So there's a lot of those fixed costs that are already taken care of. There does start to become a kind of a law of diminishing returns, if you will, kind of a marginal utility on that. And that is when we have to start messing with plate heights a lot. When you start going up, you start doing masonry veneers that have to go on both the first and second floors in some cases. That's when it becomes kind of 6 one way, half dozen the other. But, really it's very rare that we have to add that much footage to an upstairs portion of a plan. The other kicker about it is adding footage upstairs. If you add footage upstairs and there's nothing below it, we got to add the downstairs too. We've run into that sometimes. I'm like, we'll just move the bedroom upstairs out 4 feet. Like, well, it's got to be on top of something.
Yeah.
You got to add to it. Sometimes whatever you do to the top, you got to do to the bottom. So just keep that in mind if you're widening it or deepening a home or something like that.
And if you're going to have any kind of utilities up there, whether it be a bathroom, powder room, something of that nature. So it would be a lot cheaper in that case if you're not adding those kind of features upstairs.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Great question. Thanks, Cleve.
All right. We've got Nicole and Hempstead can't decide on a house. She wants a ranch with lots of working windows. We can definitely help you with that. Yeah, there's a lot of options. Go into one of our locations and sit with a design consultant and tell them exactly what you're looking for, and they can.
Yeah, you're not far from we got an office in Katy and one up in Bryan. Or you can run around the Grand Parkway to Spring, and we'd be glad to help you out and tour those plans. And lots of window. And if you see a home that has windows and they're fixed, they're not operable, we can make them operable. You don't have to remain fixed. Some people do that just because they don't want the sash, the line of the sash going across the middle of there. They kind of want the view. But everybody, see, in Texas right now, everybody loves the outside because it's like 58 and sunny. You're like, oh, I'm going to open the windows up. They forget that August will be here before you know it.
You're closing them all.
It'll be 106, 90% humidity, and mosquitoes flying in to carry you out the windows. So.
That's fair. All right. Cedric is asking if there's any problems if the land has a fire hydrant on it.
What say you, Mr. Ordeneaux?
It won't be. Generally they locate those where they're not going to be in proximity to the home. They designate on the survey where you can build and where you can't. So typically speaking, you wouldn't see a hydrant being an issue to develop a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It actually says a couple of good things, Cedric, and that is utilities are in place.
Yeah, you need water.
We've had some customers that when they're building like in a kind of a fringe area of a city, of a municipality, and there's not fire hydrants or manholes, that kind of stuff yet, they actually try to want to make the landowner pay for those things. So in this particular case, that would not be a bad deal. Now, what that means, though, is that it's probably a smaller lot. It probably is inside of a city, and there's going to be some other restrictions to go along with that. Really, like Justin said a while ago, be sure you get a survey before you. I know you said you were looking before you buy any land, particularly in a city on a city lot. Get a boundary survey with corner pins located and all easements shown. Super, super important. Because a lot could be, 65 by 130 feet, but if it has 15-foot side building lines, okay, well, now you're down to 35 width of feet you can build with. You got 25 to the back, 15 to the front, utility easements, aerial easements, so just sewer easements and all. Just be sure that you get a boundary survey, corner pins located, all easements shown before you pull the trigger.
Okay.
But your insurance company will love you for having a fire hydrant.
Yes, I was going to say that. Once you move in, your insurance is going to be lower. So that's good. Let's see. Tina is asking if we can do a shipping container home. And nope.
I need to ask either one of these guys.
Also, I know the advantage of doing that was that they were cheaper, but now shipping containers are even more expensive than anything else. So you're not going to gain anything.
We're just talking about that.
Yeah.
They're hard to come by, or they're more expensive than they used to be.
Yep. Then we have somebody asking if they can change design centers. Okay.
NM from YouTube. I can answer that question, but there's some caveats in place.
Yes.
Typically speaking, if you're not on contract or well, certainly if you're in construction, it doesn't matter very much at all. Honestly, because your point of contact is going to be one of Justin's guys, your building superintendent. But if you are on contract and in the start process and haven't gone into construction yet, then the answer is probably not. It's going to be pretty. Now, luckily, we do have over most of our sales offices, we have a regional sales manager, and we also have a VP of sales over 3 various regions that are carved up. So there's definitely somebody that we can put you in touch with if you're in the start process, but you're not getting the level of service or responsiveness that you're after. That would be rare, and we would be sorry for that, but we're not perfect. Now, if you are just in the design phase up front, you're just pricing stuff out, and you haven't done your $3,000 deposit and started off on a conditions of sale with us, you can go wherever you want to go. Doesn't make any difference. The reason for that, if you're already kind of in that middle part where you've started, is we don't want to lose anything in a transition. There's kind of nuanced conversations that you would have had with that sales consultant that putting you with a brand new one, they don't have all that background. We have what's documented, we have what's on the e-ticket, we have what was originally priced out, we have any kind of change orders that have been done, but we would not have any of those kind of serendipitous conversations that take place in a sales office with a couple between them and their sales consultant that have background knowledge of why you're doing the things you're doing. And we have found that switching horses, when you do that, something's going to get missed and you're not going to be happy. So it is better to kind of ride it out with management involved if we need to. But again, if you haven't started, you can go wherever sales office
work with whoever you want. Yeah. Just keep in mind that whichever design center you do sign with, that is where you will also go to pick out all of your colors and do your plan approvals. So make sure it's one you don't mind driving to more than once.
And also, last thing I'll point out on that is the pricing is based on where you're building, not where you buy from. So it doesn't matter if you're building, if you buy out of the Katy location or out of the Bernie location. If you're building in Kerr County, for instance, you're going to do the pricing will be for Kerr County, regardless of what design center you work with. So hopefully that helps out too.
Great, awesome. All right, so we have a question from YouTube. We like the modern farmhouse exterior look, but our POA says 80% masonry. What could we do to get a similar look?
I'm open to suggestions. Dawn, Justin?
Well, I just build them. I'm just in charge of building. So when it comes to colors or design, I generally leave that alone. Y'all are the experts.
80% is 80%. That's the thing. So that it's, unless you see your subdivision giving variances, which would be an example of maybe you've seen a house or two go up that factually, like, that's not meeting that. But if you're driving around and seeing that it's masonry, then it's masonry. I mean, so what we have seen is maybe on the front of the home, you could do a brick or stone wainscot, so maybe 30 or 36 inches tall of masonry. Do maybe a board and bat hardy above that, maybe just under a porch area. And then the rest of the house would need to be probably that full masonry, including any gable, to get to 80%. That's another thing to find out is if the homeowner association, if they count, a lot of places will count from the plate line down. So like from basically where the ceiling heights of the rooms would be down to the foundation. They don't calculate what's up in the gables or what's above to be part of their 80% or 60% or whatever requirement. But some do. And almost none of them anymore count hardy as masonry, which makes no sense.
That's what I was going to say. Unless you get lucky and they're counting hardy as masonry, you may be stuck.
But all that to say that let us take a look at your deed restrictions with you. We're pretty good at interpreting that because we build in a lot of different subdivisions across the state, and we can help. And then also, I mean, worst case scenario, we just ask. I mean, all they can tell you is no, right? So we can go submit a set of plans that you like, get an idea first before you go through the whole rigmarole and say, hey, would you even consider something like this? So,
okay, sounds good. All right, you got a question?
Oh, wait, we got Kelsey or somebody saying they got great advice. You could do white stone with like a prairie cream or Blanco chop.
Yeah.
See, we should just let Kelsey do this.
We should. We'll put her on here next.
All right.
All right.
Good advice. Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you, Kelsey. Miramar, hi. What is a dig test? I'm new to all of this and trying to learn.
Justin, we explained the difference between potentially a dig test and a soil test, and where they might encounter one or the other.
So the soils test, we're going to come out. We would obviously take soil borings to make sure that the foundation is going to be ready to receive whatever foundation we have on the lot. When you get into a dig test, a lot of times, I think she's referring to in a septic system.
Could be that, or could be where they went out to do the bore and it was rock.
Yeah. So let's cover both of them. So we a lot of times will see soil on the top layer, and then underneath it, you would see a rock base. And at that point, to get through that, either for the foundation or utilities to come in, we got to know that in advance because the costs are going to go up exponentially as we start dealing with rock. So that's one. The other one is the septic contractors. In some parts of the state, they do not mandate that we use an aerobic system. And you can still do a conventional, but they will come out. Some counties will require that you dig down to see if you qualify for a septic that can be just a conventional system, which means that there's not typically an electric motor or any kind of spraying out on the top of the surface of the soil. So those are what a dig test is going to be. And I think if you a little bit more detail might be able to allow us to get a little bit more detail with you on what to expect for that. But I would say that we will guide you every step of the way through that. Yeah. And whether it's a septic or a foundation company, or if we're trying to learn for utilities, part of our process, we uncover that through our site evaluation team. So when they're out there, those guys are super smart. They know the terrain, and generally they'll be able to look at it and tell, but there is times where we would have to go a little bit further below the surface, determine what we need to do to make it right.
Yeah, we find sometimes, we like to get that 15 to 20 foot, core sample on a lot, Miramar, but we may come out there, to Justin's point, we get down, 8 inches and it's just limestone rock. We're not going to drill a 3-inch diameter, 15-foot deep core sample of that. They'll usually dig a pit. Sometimes they call it a dig test or pit test, something like that. And we're building on top of rock, Like, they don't need to test the soil. But they can test and see if they're going to, maybe it's rock that's that thick, in which case they'd break through with a little mini excavator or maybe a skid steer or something like that. Or it's not, it's rock for the next 15 feet. So those are some of the times they're interchangeable. We call it a geotechnical investigation, which is a big, long technical term, but it means either a boring or a dig test. Yeah. And the other could be like a percolation test to find out how does the soil percolate. But yeah, that's how that works.
And all of this is just because there are so many different types of soil in Texas. We want to make sure that your foundation is designed specifically for your land. So this is all just research that's going ahead of your home to make sure that your house is going to last as long as possible on your land. All right. We have Jorge from Austin, Texas, asking if there is a book or YouTube video that gives me an overview of all the things to consider when building on my land. I'm just now considering building as an option. And so I don't have a book. We have a series of YouTube videos for you. So we do these videos pretty much every week. So we've got them on different topics. So there's a general build on your lot overview. There's one about financing. There's one about getting your land ready. There's a couple out there about construction. So there's some specific presentations that we do. Also, one great thing to do would be just go ahead and set up an appointment, come in and talk to the people in our design center, because they can help you out and give you a great overview of what to be thinking about.
Yeah, if you could actually never leave our YouTube channel, Jorge, and I don't know, Dawn has about how many hours of content you could binge watch, but you could never leave our YouTube videos, probably close to 200 or more.
200, 300 hours of content on our YouTube channel. Yeah. So just hang out.
More than you should if you have a job. Way more hours of content you should watch.
You'll know us way better than you ever wanted to. And you'll know everything that's going on.
I think you could break it down a little bit too. I think when it comes to the actual construction of the home, that's where we step in. So the decisions made beforehand on what piece of property you're going to buy, I think we could guide a little bit here. And obviously, geographically where you want to be at. Some good questions up front might be, do I have utilities, or am I going to have to establish those? And if you have to establish those as you're trying to develop a total cost, because we can certainly help guide and give you an approximate up front. But this really comes down in that Austin areas for sure. There's just so many variables. They out of level. And in other words, how much slope there is to the property, is it on rock or is it not? But those are the things that the utilities and what kind of soil you might have would be something to consider. Those are generally some additional costs that we uncover as we go through the process, but just something to look at as you're looking at land. Yeah,
and definitely thank you for saying City of Austin. Get out of there. Go. Our suggestion is go as far away from the city as you're comfortable, because within the City of Austin, you're also going to be looking at, regulations on trees. And if you take them down, which ones can you take down, and a lot of additional studies in that area. So if you're more comfortable outside of the city, it's a good plan. Good plan. All right. Then we have Andrew saying, nice to see the open ideas. We own a plot near Collins City downtown area. We want to build an artisan studio flexible space, which is allowed by code. Can we modify one of our plans into such a building, say about 40 by 60 approximate foundation size?
I'm going to say probably not. If you're inside of a city, they're going to, and they know it to be an artisan studio flexible space like that, they're probably going to require it to be a commercial building. Which is a totally different set of rules than what we're accustomed to working in. They're going to want electrical run and conduit in the walls. They may want metal ductwork. That probably, what am I thinking? Rainwater. Thank you. Fire. Yeah, fire suppression systems. That's going to have to be designed, engineered. So, Andrew, my initial thought would be, in a downtown area like that, we're probably not going to be the best solution for something like that. We have done things where we can get away with it in an unincorporated area of a county where they're not requiring all the commercial stuff, but our contractors, and Justin can speak more to it, they are set up primarily for single family residential construction. That's the code that they're comfortable building to. and what their crews are used to working with. Is that anything you want to expand on that, Justin?
Sorry, I was reading ahead. I thought you had it covered.
Okay, good.
All right.
I know, misunderstand me. I'm not cutting short what our trades are capable of doing. I mean, we have plenty of them that do commercial work. It just, when they send a crew out for Tilson and the price and the other thing we have, it's for single family residential construction. That's what they're after. So
right. Okay. We've got Martina. We were instructed that a dirt pad is needed in Hamilton County. It's now finished and beautiful, by the way, but quite tall on the low point to keep the pad level. Dustin has done some looking, but hasn't been able to get me a good answer about how to prevent washout since the house is finished. Is a retaining wall going to be installed when the house is finished at our location?
We typically do not install the retaining walls. So there's a couple different ways, the retaining wall being one, but a lot of times too, if you're starting to seed that early with grass, I mean, we build pads in various places all across the state. And they are required in some places that we do build to elevate or to overcome the outer level of the property. But generally getting some type of grass, some kind of mat grass on those will help the erosion. Initially, it takes getting seeded in. Retaining walls a little bit quicker. You won't have the degree of washout, but there still will be some. But generally, once you get that yard established, the amount of washout that you're going to get is going to be less.
And Justin, to what degree, just for full transparency, kind of to what degree, so I think the house is under construction, you know, to what degree, depending on where I get, like, come back and kind of final grading around a pad, is that, so walk us through that a little bit.
We will, towards the end, we will come in and do a final grade. And that pad was, typically we're going to build those approximately 5 foot larger each direction from the actual home. So that way there is a little bit of a level spot there, and then it tapers off. So at the very end, we will send somebody back over there to make sure that we have proper drainage. Even on a pad, you still have considerations to maintain the proper drainage, and they will touch that up and backfill it at the end.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Let's see. Texan Jim Bob is sharing that his tile is getting grout today and is Travis. So soon he'll get the rest of the flooring. So very excited in Granbury.
Awesome. Bob, thanks for watching.
Awesome.
See you later.
Talon is asking, what should he expect on your first visit to a Tilson Homes Design Center?
I'll let you elaborate on that, Dawn. You have a pretty good
All right. So on your first visit, if you already own property, go ahead and bring your survey, bring all the information that you have about your land. What they're going to do is sit down and kind of talk to you about where your property is, what type of things you would need to get that property ready. And we'll also show you the models in the location and kind of talk you through what the included features are in all of the Tilson homes, and then get started on designing your new home. So we'll talk to you about what you're looking for in a house, kind of narrow it down to the plans that look like they're right for you, and get you some pricing on it. So that's what, I'd expect to be there probably about an hour and a half, just to make sure that they go through everything, and they'll explain it all to you. Alrighty. Tracy is asking, since foundation is going in tomorrow and we are in Hayes County, what is the timeline on framing right now?
It's good. This is a great question. I think I'm going to blanket this a little bit better. So we've been very aggressive over the last 12 months in between John Parsons, Jeff Waite, and I've got several other folks that are kind of channeled into that area. So we're starting to see an uptick in the turnaround time by which we're getting framers on there. But we're still seeing delays because we're like every other home builder. We're fighting for the same resources, but I think we've been fairly aggressive and been able to get in front of where we were at compared to a few months ago. So right now, if I had to guesstimate, and I believe either John or Jeff would be the ones that most likely are constructing your home. But I would believe we're probably a couple of weeks out generally from the time we pour to the time we get a framer on there.
All right. We have Dante building the canyon and dripping, and the framing is almost done. John has been great to work with.
Awesome. There you go.
Far away.
Almost as if on cue.
Yes.
All right. Kelly is saying, we are building with Tilson. Why are we not able to get a detailed price breakdown on the overall price?
Well, that would, Kelly, I'm not sure well, I mean, what we do is typically what's referred to as our e-ticket. You would have gotten that the initial time when you went in and did your deposit and did that original conditions of sale with your sales consultant. That's what you would have received, would be that e-ticket. It's got, the base price of the house, and then any custom options that you added or deleted. And then every line, so like, these cabinets, if you upgrade them, these floor coverings, these light fixtures, plumbing fixtures, electrical, if you changed anything there, if you did vinyl plank floors, if you did, whatever you did, it's all on that e-ticket. And then the only thing beyond that would be if you did any change orders after that point, from then all the way into construction. So it would be, again, just that it would just be a net between the e-ticket originally and then plus or minus any change orders that you've done. So, but that's that e-ticket is the that's as breakdown as it gets. Now, if you're talking,
she says she's looking for a breakdown on the base price of the home.
Yeah, we don't actually have anything like that. So we don't have like how many yards of concrete are in the base, how many 2x4s, how many sheets of plywood, how many or how many bundles of shingles. Like that's not something that we have prepared. So we just have the house base price that it is, whichever elevation it is, and then changes from there. Whether you add things or delete things or just do custom options. But yeah, Kelly, there's no like broke out this many studs, this many rafters, this many top plates, this many nails, this many hammers, this many man hours. Like that's not broken out like that. So hopefully that answers the question.
Okay. Awesome. And Tracy is sharing she is with John Parsons and says he's been great in getting her everything.
Good guy.
And then we have another John. He's building in Hayes, and they started framing 2 weeks after pouring the foundation in November. He's also working with John, and he's doing a great job. Awesome.
Oh, I was pretty close. John's a good guy. He's progressive.
All right. And then we have Wendy, who is building the San Jacinto with Chris in Montgomery County and is very pleased. Framing is finished, and we were ready for the next step. Very thankful for the constant communication. Awesome. It's good to hear.
Look at Justin smiling. Look at him. He made his day, Wendy. Thank you.
Yeah, look at all these people telling the big boss how great their builders are. That's awesome. And then we have a question. Is it customary to get a copy of the soil report and foundation plans?
Certainly, if you ask for them, Mr. Teal, I mean, we can get them to you. The soil test may take a little longer. Let me explain a little bit I'll let Justin explain a little bit how that works. We don't get the report right away. Justin, why is that? Do you know?
We actually get it the same in construction. On the construction side, we do not get it until we get the plans. And honestly, we're looking at the plans alone because the engineer, MLaw, they're the ones that's harvesting the soil. They're the ones taking it back to MLAW labs. And then they report that on to the engineering department there. And then they're deciding on the beam depths, beam widths, how many cables, all of those features, whether we need a barrier beam. And they utilize some of the information we have from the site evaluation to play into that as well. But we have nothing to hide. We'll give you the soils report and the foundation plans. We also have all of our foundations inspected by MLaw as well. So they want to go out there, and we want them to go out there and verify that everything's on that engineered design has actually been executed by our contractor.
Okay, perfect. And then let's see, Kelly's also asking the reason that of the $1,800 charge to put the X on each side of the kitchen island when she was doing that upgrade.
Yep, most likely that's because that's what Kent Moore charges us to do that. So it's not just an X, so it's a completely different end panel that goes on there. So the cabinet is built in a different way with a completely different type of end panel. So we just charge the pricing that it costs from the cabinet company to do that. So same thing, it costs more to do like soft close drawers or taller cabinets or any other kind of cabinet that's different than what's included. So.
Yep. Stephanie is asking, why is it taking so long for framers in Texas Grand Ranch? She's been waiting a couple months now.
I think it's honestly, of all the contractors that we have that go out to a job site, typically those activities last a week. The one thing that's different would be the framing. Those crews, it's generally a 3 to 4 week duration of solid every day on the job. It's very weather dependent. And the reality is there's not a lot of people that are just begging to go frame homes these days. So you're just not seeing that labor that's there to go enter into the framing business. So in TGR, those are a lot bigger homes too. Walker County is doing well as Montgomery County. So we're generally pretty efficient at finding contractors that will come in and work for us. And we've had a lot of contractors work for us for many, many years. So when we're hiring a contractor, we're not necessarily grabbing somebody that we saw down the street to go build our homes. There's sometimes that people are just not qualified to do what we need them to do, so we steer away from them. So it might take a little bit longer, but we have to enter into agreements with folks that we're comfortable with, that are doing the right things, going to follow the plans, be willing to accept our criticism or list, if you will, as we're out there punching out the house.
It's wisdom, Justin. It's wisdom that you're imparting on these contractors.
That's why I'm in construction, Eric. But no, so that's probably why, and most likely, as we see Montgomery County just absolutely continue to blow and go. I think we're all fighting for the same resources in different pockets across the state.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so Steve has two questions. What is the biggest supply item issue affecting builds today and driving up prices? Yes. And what is the industry seeing? Yes. What is the industry seeing in future spot price for lumber? Like, that is, when do we think the market's going to recover from all of these shortages? And I'm assuming the underlying question Steve is asking is when are prices coming down?
Steve, I'm glad you asked.
I think
I'm going to put on mute. I'm going to mute my mic. This does not happen on the show. Just everybody.
Yes.
It's January the 11th, 2022. Eric is muting the mic.
It's kind of funny. So everything at some point just becomes short. 2 months ago, I was working with electricians on trying to find 200 amp meter cans, which is probably the most common meter can that you're going to see nationally. So, I mean, even at some points, one guy was telling me he was on eBay looking to see if he could find something there. That's how desperate we've gotten because supply houses warehouse them. So it's little things just continue to pop up. So as far as the biggest supply item issue, I don't know that I could put my finger on just one. Sherwin-Williams, huge company. I've never seen a paint shortage in my entire life. I've seen sheetrock and I've seen brick pre-COVID, little bitty things every once in a while. But right now it's everything all at once. And I think those supply chains, from everything we talk to our distributors and our suppliers, I don't anticipate that we're going to see supply chains improve, not for 12, possibly 18 months. And I think that there's a lot, as you talk to people. I even ran into a guy that sells Kubota tractors, and he was telling me that they're having a problem and they have a lot of tractors and skid steers and all this other equipment, but it's sitting in the port and they can't get it unloaded. And so he told me they're spending quite a bit more on what they're getting charged so that they can get their product into the market. So I don't know when the market will recover. I think it'll be interesting to see how it advances, but I think we're in the new norm, as we have been for the last 12 months at least. I think we're going to see a continuation of that. Flex duct for air conditioning. It's just some little wire with some insulation and some foil wrapped around it. But I have an AC contractor that said he placed an order for a container or two, and that would typically be about 2 months to receive it at worst case scenario in previous points in history. And now they're talking about 8 to 9 months before they get these containers. And Flex duct is going to go in every home that we build, and the majority of everybody else's homes is building residential construction. Lumber just shot up a little bit again this last month, I believe it was, in the report that I received. So, we're looking at several thousands of dollars in lumber increases on our average square footage home. So I think this is the new norm. And I know that's a lot of doom and gloom, and man, it's just tough, but I don't know that it's going to get, I don't think it's going to get worse. Is that y'all or is that me?
That was me, but you remembered it's Tuesday.
I think we are lucky that with the relationships we have, we've experienced, allocations, we've experienced shortages, we've experienced all those things. But I do see that a lot of times, and as I talk to peers in the industry, so to speak, that they're having the same problem. Some of them can't even get materials. I've had friends that started off on their own ventures and they're like, hey, do you know anybody I could call to get this? And I shake my head. I know nobody. Nobody do I know that I can call and help you with this. So it's not horrible. We're still managing through it. We experience delays, but we're consistently getting product in. It's just not at the rate that we'd like to see it, and certainly not at the rate that everybody would like to be performing at, but we're working through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about the demand a little bit before. Is, you know, even if the supply chain is able to normalize from the containers, like let's say we can start unloading stuff and stuff can start moving across the country again, we magically get a bunch of, you know, clean CDL drivers that can just magically start driving trucks tomorrow. That's not likely to happen, but let's say that it did. The demand for homes has not dropped.
Right.
So the supply is still way below the demand curve. I think as of yesterday, there were like 234,000 homes available in the entire United States, like from sea to shining sea. That sounds like a big number. That's nothing. That's nothing. There is no inventory. And this is supposed to be, quote unquote, the slow time. This is where you could sometimes you get a little break on lumber pricing right now because a lot of folks in the north, they aren't building. They can't build right now. Right? It's tundra. It's 5 degrees. It's 4 feet of snow or 8 feet of snow. Mm-hmm. And we see prices kind of settle. They went up. They've never gone. They didn't go up last year in January 2021 when we thought everything's crazy. Lumber didn't go up in January. It started going up in like April. And went nuts in the summer. Well, it's back up to those March, April, May prices of last year in January, while the North isn't building. So it comes down to the demand. I mean, there's the demand hasn't stopped. And so that's the demand, not just for stuff, but for the humans, like Justin was talking about, the framers, the roofers, the sheetrockers, the painters, like those trades, those craftsmen, they're in high demand. And it's a wait list. There aren't any more of them than there were a year ago. There are way less of them probably than there were 10 years ago. And which is part of the problem. Yeah. Certainly less than there were, 40 years ago, but we won't go into the generational, everybody has to go to college speech unless that's what y'all want to talk about.
All right.
Am I off mute yet? Am I muted?
No? You're good. We can hear you. All right. We've got Brian asking, we are looking at possibly building with Tilson and have been referred by several people. We were told their home took about 9 months, but today I spoke with a rep that told me 15 months.
Yeah. So I think he actually, if you look through his thread,
and he wants an 1,800 square foot house.
Keep going.
At Richland Chambers Lake.
And one more.
And then said, never mind, questions being answered. All right. Well, there we go.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. And yes, I mean, it used to take less time. Now it takes more.
15 months is not the build time either. That's total. I think that's total cycle time, just to be clear.
Yeah, so we're also talking about 2 different time frames. Yeah.
But we're grateful you were referred, and your friends are not lying to you. They told you the truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're talking 2 different time frames, most likely, and 2 different times as well.
Yep. Kind of like, let's see, Paula, who is at the Forest in Colorado Crossing, built 11 years ago with Tilson, totally satisfied, worked with San Marcos location, and recommend Tilson all the time. So her house probably got built a lot faster than yours will be, Brian.
No doubt about it.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you so much for watching.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Then we've got Melissa, who is building the Travis B in Stephenville. Her Kentmore cabinets were just installed, and wow, are they beautiful. Awesome. Glad to hear that. It's amazing.
Yes. They are beautiful.
Teresa is asking, what is considered a structural change? Is the addition of rough plumbing considered structural?
So actually it is, Teresa. I know it seems kind of weird, but the reality is anything with the plumbing that has to be done, that's going to be in the foundation. So like if you rough in for like a water softener or rough in for maybe a future shower or sink somewhere or rough in for an outdoor kitchen, that will have to go back to the engineer. We have to disclose to them, hey, there's a new penetration into the foundation, a plumbing drain pipe that's happening. So that would be considered a structural change, even though you're not moving a wall or changing a veneer or raising a ceiling height or anything like that. Adding plumbing, anything that affects the slab is considered a structural change.
All right. And Steve, who was asking our question before, says he appreciates the straight talk about supply chain issues and stuff
that's like why we bring Justin on for straight talk.
Yes. Then we have Beatrice asking about the pricing on the website. Are the higher prices listed online the price of the home with all the upgrades seen in the virtual tours? No. The price range that you're going to see on the website, that pricing is just for the base design of the plan. The difference, the range that you're seeing there is the cost of the different exteriors. So you'll see that the different, what we call them elevations, but it's just the exterior design. So they're going to have differences in the amount of porch that's on them. There's going to be differences in masonry versus the hardy plank that's on it. So the range of prices that you're seeing there is the cost from the lowest cost elevation to the highest cost elevation for the base plan. So to get the pricing for any of the upgrades that are in the home, you can call one of our new home specialists, and they can help you with that pricing for any of the custom options.
Right. So we've talked about the things that are out of our control, right? So, and Justin did a very thorough job, according to Mr. Bailey, of covering that. So we're thankful for that, Justin. Mr. Ordeneaux, is there anything that a customer can start working on that actually might help them in the process? That's specific to their land. What are some of the things they can do, start working on right now or as early as possible that would help mitigate at least some of this delay?
The unfortunate part, or fortunate, I guess, in some ways, is we're all in the same boat. Everybody's looking for a contractor because there is a shortage of homes and there's a high demand and prices are going up and all those things. So it gets down to a lot of times, hey, what can we do to speed up? And that's what we would all like to see. Every one of us would love to see it speeding up. So one of the challenges that we see as we move across the state it comes down to utilities and setting the stage for those activities to occur. You don't want to jump on those too soon. Maybe we want to meet with site evaluation and kind of get our vision aligned and how we're going to attack that lot, make sure that we're within the boundaries of that property and meet all the restrictions and all of that. But getting a culvert set, contacting the county, maybe a few contractors on your own, you can certainly lean on us. We're more than happy to provide those services or guide you on what we need going into construction. But once you start seeing and you're formulating that idea and you know this is what we're going to do, working on those lot specific things will really help through the build. So that's, if I can't get in, I can't build it. So we need to start talking to somebody about putting some kind of construction driveway in there. I think we have some content over what is acceptable as far as a construction drive. Contacting a septic contractor and a well contractor, if that's what you're going to need for your lot, for your home. Some of those companies are taking 6 months. I've spoken to plenty of customers on weekends and telling them, hey, this is where we're at. And this is where we're going. And they're like, man, I contacted 2 well companies and they're both 6 to 8 months and I'm on a waiting list. So those are the things we're seeing out in the field right now. And a lot of times we're going ahead and we're starting these jobs in the absence of those things. And it's even difficult really to build a home without water supply there. We manage through it in some cases. In some cases we can't, but we have to find ways to get those utilities in sooner. And that's one of the things as I talk to plumbers and my electricians, our septic contractors, what can we do? Because we don't want to wait till the very end to try and get this in, because a lot of times, especially this time of year, weather starts becoming a factor and it's just not as easy. And so sometimes I've had customers say, I got lucky because somebody else wasn't ready to go. The water was on the lot and they couldn't access it with the equipment and do a good job. So they jumped over to my job. And it's gone the other way as well, obviously. But so those are really things that we can do. If you've got to get the property cleared out because you got a lot of brush or something like that, if we can start those activities sooner or get on the list. I mean, that's honestly, when we release a file out to construction, I know a lot of y'all are watching right now and you're saying, well, Justin, y'all released the file and it took you 3 months to get the slab in. And that's a reality that I've been working through. I think we've picked up the pace there, but we're releasing that file so we can get on that same waiting list that you are to receive some kind of labor activity that needs to be done that's specific to the property.
All right, makes sense.
Eric, is there something else that I can tell? You're sitting there.
No. It varies. Like that's the only thing I was going to add to that is that it varies greatly across the state. So you talk about utilities and power and that kind of thing. you'll call some of these co-ops and it's, oh yeah, we can be out there in 10 days, and they do, like they actually do. And you call some of these co-ops and they say we're 12 weeks out, or we're 16 weeks out, or they say 12 and they mean 16. And that's really where we start running into some of those struggles. It's happened because they're after the same labor pool that we are. They have to have hands to do that work.
And materials. I mean, and comes down to materials as well.
So all those, like he's talking about the 200 amp meter boxes, like that goes on every house almost in America. Can't get it. We're looking on eBay to try and get them. They're after the same scarce parts that everybody else is after, and so getting on those lists, like he says earlier, that's going to help. And then the clearing, that's just one that, because we have a lot of customers that, well, I don't want to clear anything because I don't know exactly where the house is going to go. Like, for sure, if we can't, if you can't walk through it or see through it, there's no magical device or suit that we put on that we can walk through it or see it either. So if for sure it needs to be underbrushed, at least get on the list and go ahead and have it underbrushed, where they get in there with a piece of machinery and a forestry unit and kind of take care of the stuff that you're not going to want, your yopons and cedars and that kind of stuff that are 1.5 to 2 inch. Get rid of all that stuff, so you can at least kind of see through the woods. Don't take out every tree. You can have a couple trees in there still. It will help you which ones take out. But if we can't set foot on the property, and then we go out there and tell you that, well, then you may be 4 weeks waiting on somebody to come out there and do that. We just lost a month. So,
right.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Susan is saying we are in the tape and float stage of our interior. The exterior is finished except for fixing some minor issues. What timeline can we expect on finish time?
So if I'm going to blanket across the state, and again, I think
they're out in kind of the Hamilton Pool Road area, kind of Hayes County.
Okay. So generally speaking, about that time, and again, it comes down to utilities. And this is where I get in trouble. And John or Jeff, one of them will be calling me shortly after this, I'm sure.
You don't have to worry about John. He's not watching, but Jeff maybe.
Jeff might be. But I would think typically we're about that 3 month mark. 3.5 month mark is about where I would anticipate. If we have utilities, and I will tell you, nobody is more anxious to close homes than the folks here, my builders at Tilson. So they're doing everything they possibly can to pull those resources in and get it closed up. And typically it's the foundation and frame where we see the biggest bottleneck. We tend to hit a little bit more of a consistent stride. MDF, which is the material that we make your closet systems out of, that's been short. We've gotten creative on how we can utilize MDF material, but cutting it down to make sure it matches up with the plans, the depths of the shelves and all those things. But I would say we're about 3 months, approximately.
She says, John is great, but he won't commit.
Smart man.
Yes. We don't want you to be disappointed. We know everybody is so anxious, so we don't want to promise a date and get you all ready for it and then have something happen. So John is doing the right thing of trying to kind of take you one stage at a time.
Well, I'll tell you this, on the other part is beyond just the sticks and bricks right now. Surveyors, appraisals, all of those resources, everybody that's needed to make a closing happen, goes beyond just the sticks and the bricks and the touch-ups and all the little things that we have to do there. So a lot of times we're working closely with our closing coordinators, like a Lori, I believe, is who you will end up talking to if you haven't already, but she'll introduce herself. And she's going to start going into those details to satisfy the loan. So we've got to work through those shortages as well. But don't hold me to it. And John, when he calls me tomorrow, I'll let him know I was just being nice and putting a little bit of pressure on him because I need him to close another house.
And Susan, don't forget where John probably got his instructions to be non-committal.
Not me.
Great question. Thanks for asking, though. We I don't want to get too much into the business model, but go to Justin's point of nobody wants the house done. But so apart from you folks that are paying cash, there's some folks on here that are paying cash. That's awesome. The folks that are all getting a loan, like the rest of us, the other 82% of our customers, Tilson does not get any money aside from your initial deposit, until the house is finished and you close. So believe Justin when he tells you nobody wants this house closed more than we do. I know you're excited, you're anxious, you want it done. We would really, really love to get it done too. Not just because we said we would, and that's important, and we're going to do it for you. That's how we fund our business. That's how we go. That's how we build the next house. So it is something we have a common goal that we are tied to with you, and it's designed to be that way. So that's a good thing. But the common goal is to get your home finished, get you guys happy, and get you in it and get you closed. And that's how the big Tilson wheel keeps on turning. So great question. Since we're being all transparent and candid and everything.
Yes. J-Bo is asking, is it possible to run electric to existing detached structures during construction, even if Tilson does not do the actual hookup to the building? If so, when should a customer initiate that?
Yes, it is possible to run electric to an existing detached structure. And so the electrical requirements for that, you might need an additional disconnect or a pass-through panel, some way to tap that. And it'll also need to be sized appropriately to carry the load of whatever that other outbuilding is, if you will, plus the home. And so those would be considerations. But yes, you could tie like a meter and a meter can onto the existing or a detached structure and then run from that over to the home. A couple other considerations might be the orientation as to where you want the meter coming in or where you want power coming in on the home that you're building. So how you orient that on the lot would be something that you would want to consider. You don't want to cross under things if you're going to add a pool and you want the electrical coming in on the back. These are things through site evaluation we would typically guide you on and how and where you could do that. But yes, your short answer is yes, you can add that.
Okay, so when in the process, because I know J-Bo is already under contract, I'm not sure exactly where he is in the process. Like by when would we need to know that?
If you already have an outbuilding there and you want to get power established for it, we could probably look up the square footage of the home. Is it total electric or does it have gas? We can give you some idea as to what the power requirements. I think generally it'd be safe for me to say it's probably going to be a 200 amp service that's going in there. That way, as you work with your electrician, you can let him know what your intentions are, and he can come up with whether it's a panel, pass through. There's several different ways you might be able to achieve that, but you can go ahead and have power established there. And we would thank you if you want to add some temporary electrical outlets in there, because that's going to be the first thing that we do. So we need some normal size breakers. So all of our contractors would have power while they're on site constructing the home.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Julie is saying, you saying that we're on the same waiting list you are really helps put it in perspective and makes it easier to be patient while we wait. So thank you for that, Julie.
I know it's tough. And I'm not a patient person. I will leave a shopping cart filled with groceries before I stand in line to pay for it. I'm just not wired that way. I don't go to Disneyland, Disney World. I just don't see the value in doing that. My kids were deprived. But I appreciate your patience.
All right, let's see. Camille, we're so scared that we won't see our home finished. It'll be a year in March and our foundation was just poured. No question, just another anxious homeowner with life on hold and 2 kids. When it happens, it'll be great. But we have a friend that's 16 months out with no anticipation for finishing soon.
I know that's tough.
Yeah.
It's not easy to answer for, especially when I had cycle times running about 2/3 of what they are today, less than 18 months ago. And I was really proud of that team. I'm just as proud of this one for navigating these waters. And I promise you, if I could slam the throttle down and make it happen any faster, I certainly would. It's just not the position I find myself in today. But we will finish your home.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, don't be afraid that it's not going to finish. It's going to take longer than either of us would like it. Anybody watching this, anybody on this would like it to take, but we will get it done. We've been in business for 90 years. We're not going anywhere. So your home is going to be finished, and we promise we're doing it as quickly as we can. And like Eric was talking about, we are just as incentivized to get it done as you are, and we know it's a big deal, and I'm sorry you're going through that, but we are doing the best that we can.
And back to the cycle time, not to share too much on the business side, but I think, we as a company made a decision we weren't going to do escalation clauses and all these other things. We stand by our contract. And guys, I wish I could create terms where my contractors had to hold true to the pricing when we sent it out the door. I can assure you that when the electricians started going through, the copper went up from, I think I was paying $40 for a 250-foot roll at 14.2, which is a wire that's very common in your house. It's the majority of the wiring. It shot up to $160. You're not going to be able to hold that guy down. So we've been absorbing through that. So that's where cycle times have become really important. The quicker I can turn that, the less open I am to an increase in the cost, whether that be lumber, copper, paint, tile, LVP, you name the product, it's every bit of it's gone up. Sheetrock was another one that was on my hit list today to try and follow up on. I didn't realize that we were going to get an increase like we did for drywall. But the objective still remains the same. Try and build the best quality you possibly can in the shortest duration. And that's what we're trying to do every single day. And we're pushing along. I think we've seen a little bit more consistency here. So I hope we see some reduction in cycle times here pretty soon.
Okay.
That's the deal.
All right. Then we've got Jorana, who's saying we signed on 6/6 and still have not received our final plans. We're cash buyers. She says she's scared too. Again, please don't be scared about it. Jorana, I can see that yours are almost done. So I'm going to have JC reach out to you and give you a call, because I can see most of the stuff other than the final plan. So you should have it. You do have the final version that you're going to see. So I'm showing you got those on November 29th. So if you don't think you have the final ones, let me connect you with JC and get some more information on that. But your home's definitely going to get built. Don't worry about that. And Stephanie is saying, I have no doubt Tilson is doing what is within control. Supply chain and county delays are awful in these new times, for sure.
Yeah, she mentioned the county delays, which we haven't talked about really much, and that is another one that's a big holdup that, again, outside of our control. I mean, they got, and I get it. Some of these county offices, particularly in more rural areas, they don't have not a big depth chart. Okay, like Travis County, big depth chart. They got bureaucracy everywhere, people at every corner. Well, they're not working there, of course, but they have tons of people. But you go to some of these smaller counties, there's not a big department, like it's a person, or maybe one person that runs 3 departments. They stamp the stuff at the county clerk's office. They also are the building permit administrator and floodplain administrator. They go down with COVID, or they get a sick kid and they're out for 2 weeks, stops the whole train for that whole county. And some are much better than others about, you being able to get a hold of somebody and get answers. Some you can only email or go through their online portal that I'm convinced they never check. And then there's others that just, they call you back when they can. And that's a real sticking point, because like Justin said, we need a septic permit for every single job that we build. Most of them have some type of floodplain permit or development permit. And their cycle times are longer than they've ever been. They're taking a long time to go do stuff. So it's a struggle. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
All right. We've got Martina saying, I've been happy with the timing of our stages. We have several future neighbors that are way ahead of us, and we have one Tilson twin. We are within the same timing. It's pretty cool to go through this with a neighbor. Dustin has been great to work with, and Jessica was wonderful as well. Thank you to all involved. Thank you, Martina.
Thanks, Martina.
Jabo is saying he's concerned about the 180-day price protection. We have been prompt, proactive in completing all of our responsibilities. Delays mostly due to 1 to 2 month delays on email replies by our original Tilson rep. Can you speak to how you approach the 180-day decision? We are past the deadline. We have no problem being patient, but just want to avoid the price increase.
Yeah. So the best thing to do, Jabo, is, because we don't have the whole story on here. We don't have everything to look at, but the regional sales manager of whatever location you're working with can certainly help you through that and kind of what the expectations are. And the good news is we've got it clicked along the way. If it's delays that have been caused on our end, we keep track of that.
Right.
If it was plans that took longer than we said they would take, we have that documented. We keep track of that. I saw it probably our online sales team, our design and draft department is probably the most heavily tracked department in our entire company. So we've got good data on what and some do take longer than others. So we understand that, and that's why we track that data. So something that definitely that regional sales manager at your location can help with, or the VP of sales can help you with.
Yeah, I know you're in Bernie, so I will get with Fairlyn when this is over and make sure that she reaches out to you to talk about that. All right, and that is the last question I see. So if anybody if you have any, start typing. That's last call for questions.
Oh, because we've currently survived, so maybe we shouldn't. But we hey, truth be told, that's why we do these, guys. Okay, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we are here for you guys, your questions, your concerns. If you're worried or scared, that's why you come talk to us. Okay, that's
right.
why we're here.
That's why we're here.
We've been doing this for a long time. We've never seen anything quite like this, at least, but that's just our lifetime. I don't know what they were looking at in the 1930s at Tilson Homes. I'm guessing it wasn't very pretty.
I'm thinking they were a lot more scared.
I'm guessing they were a lot more scared. Like, what are they going to eat tomorrow, and what are the families they're going to build for? So every generation has their struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is ours, I'll take it. I mean, Justin, we all three were around for the recession, 2007 to 2011. Like, that wasn't any fun either. Totally different type of struggle and anxiety and interest rate craziness. And then this is just another one. Economies are cyclical, and it may seem very extreme right now. Part of it's because you're just being bombarded with it. I don't know that this is any more crazy or stressful than any other time that there's ever been something crazy going on. You just hear about it constantly through all media.
So many more places to hear about it from.
Yeah. So all that to say, thank you for coming here. Okay. Thank you for watching these. Thank you for asking questions. Justin, thank you for coming, man. I know that you got a gazillion things to do, but it's important that you get the right information out to these folks that are trusting us. So thank you for doing that. I know that's important to you and your team. Thanks for supporting your guys. That means a lot to us and to them. Dawn, thank you for suffering the slings and arrows out here with us today. That was good times. And Kelsey behind the scenes answering all the questions right, because we can't. Thank you very much for doing that. And guys, we got tons of ways you can get a hold of us. Obviously, we got the website. It's open 24/7. We have 12 locations across the state. We are kind of slowly gearing back up our on-site seminars at these locations. And then in addition to that, we got an Instagram page, got a YouTube channel, we got a Facebook page. Justin loves talking via Facebook. It's one of his favorite things in the world to do. No, it's not, but he does it anyway, and that's the kind of guy he is.
Yes.
So
thank you
anyway,
for being here.
We'll be glad to answer any questions we have, any questions y'all have on those mediums. Until next time, we will talk to you guys later. Hope to make you soon part of the Tilson family. See you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank y'all.